A very good evening. Hello, welcome to Live Irish Myths. You're all welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. This is Live Irish Myths, episode number 285. I am your host, Anthony Murphy. For the next hour and a half, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the ancient past, and in particular, we're going to be looking at something very interesting that I spotted with my drone yesterday, not far from Fourknocks, that wonderful, beautiful little monument of the Neolithic that I'm currently finishing a book about. In fact, the book is written and is shortly going to print, but is now going to be slightly delayed, but I'm still intending to have it published on the 1st of August. Because of the addition of a short new chapter about a certain find that took place yesterday. Anyway, you're all very welcome. If you're watching, whether on YouTube or on Facebook, please do join in the conversation. Your comments will appear here. I will share them. If you haven't been here before, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if that's where you're watching. And give us a follow on Facebook. Also, please do consider signing up for the email newsletter on the website for twice weekly emails about interesting topics related to mythical Ireland, myth and folklore, archaeology and prehistory, astronomy and alignments, all that kind of stuff and more. So this is a lovely evening here in the Boyne Valley. It's been a gorgeous day. It's been warm and sunny with a little bit of wind to keep the temperature down. I had the pleasure of participating or leading a tour of the mythological murals of Drogheda today with a small private group, and told them all the stories, and they were deeply interested and fascinated. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of a private tour with a group at Fourknocks and Douth, and on the way between Fourknocks and Douth, I decided to fly my drone briefly and made a discovery, and that's what this evening is all about. The nature of that is at the moment a bit of a mystery, but once something is mysterious, it's fascinating, it's interesting. Hello to all the Tua, the Mythflix Tua, as we call them. You've heard of Netflix. Well, when we're talking myths and legends and ancient Ireland, we are the Mythflix crew. A very good evening to Helen Hirsch Chader, who is the first of the commenters tonight. Helen is watching on YouTube. Good evening to you, Helen. And I had the pleasure of Helen's company on a tour of the Boyne Valley. When was that? It was last year, wasn't it? Or was that this year? Time is flying. I can't keep track of it. Helen, a pleasure to welcome you to the library. Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter, who's normally our first commenter, just wasn't quick enough this week. She tells us it's 84 Fahrenheit or 29 Celsius in Texas right now. A big congrats on your drone find. That's so exciting. Not so hot Texas. Wow. I think our temperature today was, maybe close to 20, but not more than that. Right now it's 15 degrees at Dublin Airport. Thanks, Elaine. Looking forward to the discussion. Tuesday, Thompson is wishing everybody a happy Mythology Monday and many happy returns to you, Tuesday. Johnny Finlay is watching on YouTube. Johnny, a very good evening. I'm not sure if we've seen you before on a live stream. You're very welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Please do feel free to join in the chat, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Wayne Bird is joining us. Hello, Anthony. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. Not too sure about Ireland's weather, but here in the UK, there shouldn't be a hosepipe ban this summer. It's been a bit hit and miss, but the funny thing is, despite the cool, dull weather, it actually hasn't done much rain recently, which may have contributed to the crop marks that I spotted yesterday. Marianne Kinja tells us, hi from Connecticut. I'm afraid I only have a few minutes, but wanted to say hello to you, to all, and to congratulate you on the new finds. Well, thanks, Marianne. And of course, don't forget, you can indeed watch the replay. As soon as this episode is finished, the video will be available to watch back on both the YouTube channel and on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page. So good to see you, by the way, and thanks for dropping in to say hello. Lily Shambles says, good evening, I hope all are well. I'm really looking forward to learning more about your exciting new discovery. And actually, so am I. I will share what I can share, but given that I'm not a trained archaeologist, that will be limited. However, it's still very exciting and there's lots to talk about, so don't worry. Buckle up, belt up, buckle in, get prepared for a fascinating jaunt or a speedy ride into Irish prehistory. Rex Fortenberry. And if you wish, fix yourself a cup of tea or a dram or something, and get yourself comfortable, as we always urge our viewers to do. Rex says, a big howdy do from the steam bath that is South Louisiana. Congrats on the discovery. Looking forward to the additional short chapter in the Fourknocks book. Brilliant stuff, Rex. And thank you for your consistent support. Johnny Wilson is saying a big hello from Edinburgh, Scotland. Tomorrow I'll be in Ireland. Brilliant stuff, Johnny. Johnny's usually watching from Texas. A little bit cooler in this part of the world, Johnny. I think you'll agree. And I'd imagine you're really enjoying that. Guido Bruce is watching, I think, from the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. Guido says, good evening, Tua, and congrats, Anthony, on your great find. Well, thank you very much. Haven't yet had confirmation from the National Monument Service that it is unrecorded. It's not on their online database, so I assume it's not. And a few archaeologists have spoken to have no knowledge of it, so fingers crossed. Evania Lee says, hello from New Zealand. Well, a very good morning to you. Evania, of course, is in Tuesday already. A very happy Tuesday to you. I hope it's a great day over there. Two of my guests on my murals tour today were from Auckland. And I said, wow, you travelled all the way to Ireland just to hear me telling you some stories about the myths and legends of the Boyne Valley, with humour on my part, which is typically cheesy. Anyway, Mavanwe, no, they appreciated it. Good evening, all from Bristol, says Mavanwe. This evening, I made it on time. Congratulations, Anthony, on your archaeological find. So exciting. Yeah, I am excited. So much so yesterday, I was a little bit emotional, actually, when I actually got the images home and started looking at them and processing them here on the screen. And I saw the comparisons with Dronehenge. I actually started to get really excited and a little bit emotional. It was quite an interesting little period of time when I was looking at this going, wow, this looks like a henge within a henge. Wandy, whose name I probably shouldn't try to pronounce. Wandy, is it van der Vlucht? I'm not sure how to say that, is watching from the Dutch West Coast. Well, hello to the Dutch West Coast from the Irish East Coast. Wandy, what a pleasure to welcome you into the library. And Guido Bruce is saying, Goedenavond, which I assume is the Dutch for good evening, and presumably speaking to Wandy. Maybe translate for us if I am correct, please. And if I'm not, definitely if I'm not, tell me I'm not. Joe Butler, Auntie Joe, is in sunny Colorado. Doesn't the sun always shine in Colorado? No, it doesn't. Joe, you're very welcome this afternoon. Wandy is flying in this Saturday for a 2-week holiday, presumably to Ireland, i.e. Wow, brilliant. I hope you enjoy that. Plenty to see in Ireland, of course. Brendan Byrne, if you have a drone, even more. Good evening to the, I presume it's the drone druid and the Tua from Glendalough, or as apparently I was told today that the people of Glendalough refer to their home place as the churches. Brendan, I hope the sun is shining beautifully in Glendalough this evening. You're very welcome to the live stream. Brax is sending us a green heart. Hello, Brax, watching on YouTube. Leslie O'Neill says, hey, hi, everyone. Hello, Leslie. Lovely to welcome you back to the live stream. Alan Hoskins is in Ballina, Killaloe, where the rain is just starting. A very wet day forecast for tomorrow. Sure, it's summer. Hope all well. Maybe it's a good thing I did fly the drone when I did, because if there's rain and the crops ripen out, all the crop marks will disappear. Kathy May Deo, and of course, they're going to be harvested soon anyway. Hello, Mr. Anthony and Tua. Happy to be here, and something every Monday since now I'm officially retired. Wahoo! Congratulations, Mr. Murphy or Mr. Anthony on the amazing find. Well, congratulations, Kathy May, on being retired. That means you can join us on the live streams for the whole show every time, and not just on your lunch break. Well done. A happy retirement to you. I hope it's very fulfilling and enjoyable, and hope it's a new phase in your life, and that you discover something new, and you find great joy in the rest of your time. Ali is saying, best start to a new week. Love to listen live from Tucson in Arizona. Hello, Ali, and a very good afternoon to all our friends in hot and dry Arizona. Burr Whelan is saying, congratulations, Anthony, on Dronehenge too. It's great weather in Dublin. Yeah, and it's lovely here in Drogheda. The forecast was for heavy showers. I brought a coat and an umbrella on my tour this morning and ended up carrying them over my arm for the whole thing. Desiree Riley, hello. Me and Amadeus are happy to both be tuning in together today. Thanks for all your prayers. The pup is pretty much all better, which I'm delighted to hear about. Hello, Amadeus. Come here. Come here, boy. Just waiting for the others to chime in any second now. Congratulations on the new discovery, Anthony. Thank you, Desiree. Yes, we'll be talking about that soon, but what is it, is the question. Nasate, is it? Hi from Istanbul again, joining from 35 degrees at 10 p.m. Oh my goodness me. Wow. You want to come over to Ireland for a while, mate? It's a lot cooler over here. That sounds hot. Hopefully you have, excuse me, hopefully you have air conditioning. Mariana Dunn is saying Banachti, which for those of you who don't know is the Irish for blessings. Blessings, dear Tua, or Banachti, and Anthony from Alexandria, Virginia, with heat index in the 100 plus degrees this week. Oh my God. Climb in the icebox and shut the door. Paul Goran is in the house. Anthony Murphy. Paul, who had the unique honor of being the first to hear about the discovery other than my immediate family, because he happened to ring me about something else. And I said, can you keep a secret? This was shortly before I shared it all on social media. Paul, great to see you in the library this evening. Selkie Woman says, Mom and I saw Fourknocks with you in 2019. Very excited about the book. It's 94 or 34 Celsius in Pennsylvania. Wow, it's hot all over the place at the moment, isn't it? And Fourknocks, what a beautiful and incredible monument. Tom King is in the house. Hello there, Anthony and the Mighty Two. A significant find and one with many congratulations. A very exciting discovery. Tom, I could just picture you now with the dram, you know, raising the dram to my good health and fortune. Speaking of which, huge congratulations to Tom. So you may have seen he shared it on the Mythical Ireland community last week. Can't remember exactly what day. A documentary made by, was it Craig McShane at the Forge, featuring Tom. And a beautifully made documentary, a very moody, and I love the way it was shot and edited and put together. And I just thought it was brilliant. And it went and won an award. Well, I'm not surprised. Tom King is heading to the Oscars. He is going to be in Hollywood at some point, accepting an Academy Award. I have no doubt about it. He's brilliant. Tom, congratulations and well done on the award. And of course to Craig on his wonderful filmmaking and editing. Johnny, yes, I've watched your show many times. It's about 6 months since I interacted. Not to worry, Johnny, but you're always welcome and you know that. We love to see it. John McCormack is telling us, or well, me is specifically, hi Anthony, congratulations on new Dronehenge find at Fourknocks. Thanks, John. Fascinating stuff. And of course, it's going to be fascinating to hear more about it from the archaeologists as to what they think it might be. And more of that anon. Archaeoastronomy database. Hi, friends. Exciting stuff. I started an archaeoastronomy analysis as soon as I saw the post. Yeah, I may be able to share some further imagery with you, Ty. There's a vertical panorama that I shot this morning with my drone. Went out there early and put it together. You know, I stitched several shots into one large overall vertical view. And there's one where an archaeologist has helped me to interpret some of the features. So they may be of interest to you in terms of determining directions and that. Gabriella TG is saying hello from Argentina. A very good afternoon to all our friends in the Southern Hemisphere and, of course, in South America. Wonderful to hear from Argentina. Gabriella, you're so welcome. I hope you enjoy the live stream. And please do make yourself comfortable. Thanks. I'm never the first to sign on. Loved your latest discovery. With a henge? Possibly. Can't rule it in or out at the moment, but let's talk about that further in this live stream. Kathy May tells us it's very hot in Newcastle, Washington State, where it's 94 degrees. Wow. I'm having a wonderful relationship with my air conditioner, lol. Brilliant. Deborah Williams is saying, hello, everyone. It's been a long time. I needed some cheering up, and it's god-awful hot and humid here in Hillsborough, Maryland, on the eastern shore. It seems to be the situation all over the States at the moment. It's hot right now. Shay Payne is saying, hello, right back at you, Shane. Shay, should I say. You're very welcome to the live stream. Magula Hyundai says, do you think it's a good idea for those with drones to get them up in the sky in areas of close proximity to megaliths, as the likelihood would be similar? Yes, absolutely. This is what happened when the Dronehenge discovery of the 10th of July 2018, almost 6 years ago now, began to be publicized. Lots of people who own drones started flying over the fields around their local area. And lots of people discovered lots of stuff. Absolutely. And this is the 8th of July. The wheat crop, which is the best for seeing crop marks, less so barley, much less so oats and beans and brassicas and or oilseed rape and all of that. Yeah, highly recommended. Do it now. Do it tomorrow morning. Don't wait, because if you wait a week, it's likely that the crop that you're looking at will be harvested, especially if it's wheat or if it's winter wheat, especially. But yeah, a great idea. Wandy says spot on. Is it Van der Vlucht? Did I say it right? Wow, I can't believe I did that. Chris is saying, is this the same henge from 5 years ago? No, it isn't. It's an entirely different structure in a different location. I hope that answers your question, but I will talk more about it, of course, and show you pictures. Anna L is saying, good evening, Anthony and the two. Congratulations on your discovery. Surely it is unknown/unregistered if Anthony Murphy didn't hear about it before. Well, there's always the possibility, no, but it's not recorded. And of course, I wrote a section of my new Fourknocks book, deals with the wider landscape and the monuments of that landscape pertaining to both the Neolithic and the Bronze Age. And of course, there's a chapter on the henges. So up to now, no. And one of the archaeologists who I've been speaking to briefly is from that area, and she doesn't know anything about this, and is fascinated by what may emerge in the investigation of it. Paul McFeely is saying, hi, hey, Anthony and all. Hope you're all well. Congrats on the new find. In good form, Paul. I hope likewise with you. Thank you for the congrats, and stay with us. And I hope you enjoy the episode. Dawn Hilton is saying, hi everyone, love the Newgrange find, Anthony Murphy, congratulations. Yeah, it's not at Newgrange, it's near Fourknocks, but yes, and we'll talk more specifically about that momentarily, but thank you very much. Gabriella TG is now sending us is that a purple heart? Forgive me, I have red-green deficiency color blindness, not always able to see the right colours. I'm a little late to the party today, says Anne Scott Doherty. Well, that's no problem at all, Anne. And in fact, we haven't actually started the episode proper. I'm just still saying hello to people. And as always, I always say to people, like, if you're going to arrive late, definitely don't announce it. Anne Scott Doherty, late for lesson by 19 minutes. Punishment, 1 hour's detention after school. That'll teach you. And you're very welcome. Say hello to Bill for us as well. Barbara Murphy is saying, sneaking in late. Oh my God. Do I have to bring the red notebook out again? Why do errands always run long? Well, Elkmar. Elkmar was sent away from Newgrange by the Dogda so the Dogda could make love with his wife. And he told Elkmar, you're only going away for a day. And the errand that he sent him on lasted 9 months. Glad to be here with Anthony and Maitua. Glad to be inside, heading towards 110. Oh my God, that's like being in an oven. Hot even for us. And tomorrow is expected to be even worse. Sigh, can I come to Ireland? Well, please do, because I can tell you, it's nice here. It's very nice here at the moment. Chris says, thanks. Lol, I had to make sure. Louis Baldwin is saying, is it near water? Funnily enough, it's not. It's not near water. It would be probably 2 to 3 kilometers away from the Delvin River, for instance. Yes, shame on all my fellow Americans that said you all couldn't wait for summer. Now we'd be praying for winter, lol. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens in Ireland. We all say, oh, the terrible weather. Oh, I wish summer would come. And literally after 2 days of warm temperatures, and when I say warm, I mean 18 Celsius. I don't mean 30 or 40. People are going, oh, it's too hot. Oh, I wish it was cold, cooler. Oh, bring back the winter. Thank you, Barbara, for the gorgeous Makara. Whoops, I'm behind. Dronehenge. Don't worry. We'll all catch up. Johnny's saying late for class and laughing. I wouldn't consider this late after my late entrance last week, I think by about 80 minutes, yes, for which Mavanway had to serve 3 hours detention. Anne-Marie S. is saying, hello from Jackie and Anne-Marie. Can't wait to hear about your discovery. Well, hello, Jackie and Anne-Marie. Thanks for joining us this evening. Hope it is nice where you are, not too hot. Teresa Collins, whoops, the red book is out. Hi, Anthony and everyone in the tour. Hello, Teresa. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I've caught up with the comments. Quick mention of the Ishnock tour. So myself and Simon Tute of Monumental Ireland are leading our first joint tour of the Hill of Ishnock, speaking about the archaeology, history, mythology and cosmology of that wonderful sacred centre of Ireland. That's taking place on Saturday, the 20th of July, which is Saturday week. And you can get your tickets on the Mythical Ireland website, and I'm just going to share the link there now. If in any case afterwards, if you think, oh, maybe I'll get a ticket, and you haven't got the link, just go to mythicalireland.com and go into the tours page, and you'll find it there. Barbara is wondering, can you make my detention be in your library? Wouldn't you like that? Yeah. I suspect your detention would actually voluntarily go on much longer than the time you'd have to serve on the basis that you'd be leafing through all the books, you know? Yes, indeed. Just to be clear, says Elaine Dent-Lingenfelter, I never ever pray for summer. Well, you live in Texas. You know, it's hot all year round there, you know. Can you share the link to the GoFundMe, please, says Brendan. I can. And in fact, that was one of the next items on my list. So I'm trying to raise funds to pay for the photography and the printing of the Fourknocks monograph. Thank you to everybody who's donated so far. Anybody who gives 50 euros or more towards the fund will be mentioned in a special page of the book early on in the book, as I have done with previous books. And I believe that's, by the way, I've seen plenty of books, even from the 19th century, where the author thanks their patrons for their contributions towards making it happen. And I couldn't make it happen without you folks. I really couldn't. So thank you. And I'm just about to share that link. So the GoFundMe link is coming there now. Actually, there's a short version of it, which I might share as well, because apparently somebody had a problem with the long version of it last week. So I'll just share the short version. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. It's literally the case that as an independent, self-employed author, tour guide, live streamer, and all of that, that I am entirely reliant upon the Mythical Ireland audience, as it were. I'm entirely reliant on people being interested in what I write, in the photographs I take, in the live streams, and in the website and in the tours. So if you can contribute to the GoFundMe, I would greatly appreciate it. If you happen to be able to give 50 or more, I will make sure your name is printed in the book as a way of saying thanks. My next Newgrange Farm Archaeological Park tour, which, remember, includes access to the Newgrange Monument and the chamber, is on the 23rd, which is tomorrow fortnight. And you can get tickets on yourdaysout.com. And I'm just sharing the link there now as to where you can get your tickets for that. If you're in Ireland and you want to see Newgrange and also hear about the amazing landscape, the archaeological and mythological landscape around Newgrange, including Dronehenge and the discoveries of 2018, come on the tour. Tickets, as I say, on yourdaysout.com. Please do consider signing up, if you haven't done so already, for the Mythical Ireland emails. It's free. It doesn't cost you to subscribe. And there are now twice weekly emails which cover a range of subjects, but all of the stuff that we talk about on the live streams and on the Mythical Ireland website. That would be mythology, folklore, legend, archaeology, prehistory, medieval stuff, if it relates to the manuscripts, astronomy and astronomical alignments, and more besides. I had one there last week about a day in the life of a self-employed author, which I hope that you found interesting. And of course, if there are offers and discounts to be made on upcoming experiences and especially books and other things, I will announce them to the email list also. Anne McCallum is saying, hello, Anton, and all the mighty tour. Internet problems, so hopefully can stay with you. Hope everyone's well. 31 Celsius today, but humidity makes it feel much hotter. Wow, we are so fortunate here in Ireland. We have a very, very mild climate, and yeah, it helps enormously. It helps keep us cool, because don't you know, the Irish are the coolest people in the world. To which the Icelandic people are saying, oh yeah, really? And the Siberians are saying, I see you're cool, and I raise you an iceberg. Oh no, that's the Newfoundlanders. No, that's the Greenlanders. The farm tour, says Alan Kring. Hello, Alan. The farm tour is an amazing and incredibly informative tour. We can't say enough good things about it. Brilliant stuff. Glad that you enjoyed it, and great to see you on the live stream. Are you still in Ireland or are you home? Thank you, Anne, on the congratulations. Talking about that momentarily. Brilliant stuff. Will there be an archaeological tour in winter? Yes, I do some tours in winter, but not the Newgrange Farm tour. They stop in August because the farm, as a visitor attraction, closes for the winter months, for 6 months of the year. I'm so acclimatized to mid-Wales weather now that Bristol is pretty warm for me when I'm here. I don't think I'd cope with your weather at all, says Mavanwy. Yeah, I'm looking at all these reports. Rex Fortenberry takes the biscuit. I just couldn't live there. I had some students from New Orleans on a tour at the Hill of Tara in the past couple of weeks. I think I might have mentioned this last week, but they told me it was 45 Celsius at home with a humidity of 90%. I just said, no, I just couldn't do it. I would just stay indoors all day long. Alan says, just got home Saturday, planning our return already. Brilliant, glad to hear it, which means you had a wonderful time. And it was a really, really great pleasure to meet you both and to show you some of our amazing sites. So today's episode is all about yesterday's discovery. So a little bit of background. You'll know that although I'm not a qualified archaeologist and I have no qualifications in that field, I have a huge interest in archaeology, particularly, of course, the archaeology of the ancient Neolithic complexes, the monuments of Brunabonia and Lough Crew and Sligo. Most of my written work focuses on the Boyne Valley and Lough Crew. I came to international prominence on the 10th of July 2018. Well, actually, the next day was when the publicity started, when I discovered Dronehenge with Ken Williams and several other major unknown man-made structures, which archaeologists reckon date to the late Neolithic. Now, just to put that in context, Dronehenge would likely, and remember, it revealed itself in crop marks, so we can't say for sure, what era it belongs to, but it looks likely that it would belong to the late Neolithic. So in Ireland, that would span between approximately 2900 BC and 2500 BC. So between 4,900 and 4,400 years old. I forgot to mention, by the way, please do, another way that absolutely I'm completely reliant on as a self-published, self-employed author and live streamer and all the stuff that I do. I'm entirely reliant on your support. And one of the major things that you can do is to become a patron at patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. And that's the address that is streaming across the page on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. And particularly for me, while people make a minimum pledge of $1 a month, and that's great if that's all they can afford, really where you start to see the rewards are at the $5 a month level, and particularly the $10 a month level. At the moment, those at the Bronze Age level and above, that's the $10 level and above, are getting the draft text of my next big book, which is finished and is at the proofreading and editing stage, hopefully published before the end of the year. Jez Hunt, tuned in just at the right time. Have you been spotting amazing things again? Well, I've certainly been spotting crop marks. And yes, it looks like it could be something fascinating. Thank you to two people who've donated to the Fourknocks, forthcoming Fourknocks book in the last few minutes. Thank you very much for your contributions. So let's start off. Okay, a little introduction as to what happened yesterday, and then I'll show you some images. So I was on a tour yesterday, a tour that involved some private clients. They were from Ireland and Zurich in Switzerland and Germany. No, not Zurich in Germany, Zurich in Switzerland, and Germany. And they wanted me to guide them at Fourknocks and then at Douth. And when we were finished at Fourknocks, and it was a lovely day, we were up on top of the mount surveying the landscape. The leader, or their coordinator, said to me, look, we're going to stop and get a coffee somewhere on the way to Douth, if that's all right with you. And I said, yeah, no problem. I'm not in any rush. And I spotted from the top of Fourknocks Mound that a nearby hill with a very, very massive, or the remnants of a very huge embanked enclosure on it. This is the hill of Heathtown, 1.5 kilometers to the northwest of Fourknocks 1, the mound or the monument that we know as Fourknocks 1, the passage tomb, the famous one, the one I'm writing the book about. I could see that a substantial part of that hill was under wheat. And I just said, well, this is the time of year for crop marks, and wheat is the best crop for crop marks. So when they're getting coffee on their way to Douth, I'll make a quick detour across to Heathtown and park the car and fly the drone. So I bring the drone with me regularly in the van. I'll show you, actually. So it comes in this very tidy little bag. It's a mini drone. It's a DJI Mini 2. It folds away into a tiny size. The advantage of the Mini 2 is that it's less than 250 grams, so it fits into a special category where you can fly it in urban areas and you can fly it over people without, with larger drones, you can't fly over uninvolved people. You have to make them aware that you're flying the drone. And here's the controller. Well, it hasn't got the phone attached. So I flew the drone up in the air and said, do you know what? I'll have a look at Heathtown, because that monument was discovered as a henge by the late Leo Swan, who was, long before the era, decades before the era of drones, was one of Ireland's most prominent, probably the best known of Ireland's aerial archaeologists, along with the likes of Dr. Gillian Barrett, who I should mention as well, who's made a substantial contribution. So before drones, there were archaeologists sitting in the passenger seat of a two-seater airplane with a camera leaning out the window, capturing images of the landscape at various times. Now I'm just trying to find this image. Leo Swan's entire archive of images is online. The Leo Swan aerial photographic archive. I'm just trying to. There's a very particular photograph of the Heathtown henge or embanked enclosure, which is likely to be a late Neolithic henge, one of the larger ones in the Boyne Valley group. It's over 200 meters in diameter. Yeah, I think this one might. Yeah, I'll just show you this. I'm going to share this screen with you. Just give me one moment. So this takes a second to share the screen. So this talk, this live stream is going to be punctuated by me sharing things with you. That is just going to take a few seconds each time. Can you see that? Can you see that? You should now be able to see, if you just maybe silent. Pilgrim is in the house. Good evening, all of you. You're very welcome to the live stream. I'm just not sure if you can see that, but so here's the wing of the aircraft, and this is the. I can't see it apparently. Sorry. Okay, that's because I have to do that. Now I suppose you can see it. Yeah. So here is the Heathtown henge, which consists of part of the surviving bank and then a small section here. And it was always thought this was part of a ring fort and this was a mound. But actually, what Leo Swan discovered in this image and others is that you can just see here in the low sunlight, there's actually a very low surviving portion of the connecting bank. So this would originally have been a very substantial ring and a ring of an entire embanked enclosure. The embanked enclosures, by the way, or embanked henges of the Boyne Valley, first brought to prominence by the wonderful work of Geraldine Stout, who's a good friend of Mythical Ireland, in her 1991 paper, The Embanked Enclosures of the Boyne Region. And she highlighted the size and the scale and the topography and the various features of them. I hope Lexi's husband is okay. And say hello to Lexi for us, Barbara. So I hope that sheds some light on what is Heathtown. Now, Heathtown is a hilltop. And so we have what looks to be a late Neolithic embanked henge on the top of this hill. So this is a very substantial remnant. As I said, over 200 meters in diameter. Can't tell you exactly the diameter of it. I know it's over 200 meters. Now, if you look at Dronehenge and the embanked henges immediately around Newgrange, they're all about 150 meters or so, which is just over 500 feet, by the way. They're all very big, but the larger ones are, for instance, at Heathtown near Fourknocks, and also at Rathmave near Tara, which is 270 meters. It's gigantic, you know, really, really huge. Samantha Healy is saying hello to us all. Samantha, you're very welcome to the stream. Anyway, so I launched the drone. I sent it up towards the Heathtown henge. And what I was thinking was this. I was thinking, do you know what? Like I was thinking when I flew back in 2018 at Newgrange Farm, I was thinking maybe we will see features of the existing monuments that we haven't seen before. Maybe crop marks will reveal aspects of them that, you know, yeah, as I say, that we haven't seen before. Now, give me 1 second. I'm going to open this and share it with you. Within moments. Now, remember, a lot of the images I'm going to show you today are heavily processed. To bring out the crop marks, which are reasonably faded, that requires adding contrast and clarity. And in Lightroom, myself and other photographers of ancient monuments, we adjust the luminance sliders to best suit the color to make it pop, basically. I'm glad to hear that Lexi is just exhausted and Mark should be fine. So fingers crossed for them. So I'm going to show you this. This is unprocessed, right? So I'm going to show you what the feature that I discovered. Now remember, this is literally within less than 2 minutes of launching the drone. I put it up in the air, make sure everything's okay, check the controls, check the battery, and then put it up further and start sending it over. I think it was a couple of 100 meters away, within line of sight. And within moments, as I approached the Heathtown remnants, I could see something else. Now, let me show you this. So this is an unprocessed image of what I saw. Now, just let me briefly describe what you're seeing on the screen. So here is the large segment of surviving bank of the known recorded Heathtown embanked henge. And just up here at the very top of the image, you can see what was thought to be a mound, but after Leo Swan's discovery, it was understood to be a part of the original bank of the henge. Now you can see here there's crop marks representing the no longer existing section of bank that actually connects the two. And we assume, although I'm not sure that it's ever been visible in crop marks, that the rest of the monument, that it forms a complete ring, which would be entirely in keeping with an embanked henge. Henges are circular monuments. They're not semicircles. They're complete circles, but they often have gaps in them, entrances basically to the interior of the monument. So what I saw immediately was this double circle. You can see it there, I hope. And if you look at that, what it appears to be is a double circle in crop marks within this larger circle, which immediately fascinated me. And now it wasn't until I got home and I actually did some processing of the images that I really appreciated the nature of it. But in the initial moments, I'm saying to myself, I'm pretty sure there is no large scale structure recorded there other than the two sections of this embanked henge, you know. Archaeastronomy, is it quick and easy to add cursor capture to your shared screen? I don't know what that means. Are you not seeing my arrow, my cursor? No, maybe you might just explain what you're looking for, Ty, and I'd be glad to facilitate that if I can. So this is one of the first images that I captured. Now this field is in a different crop. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I don't think it's barley. It could be oats or beans or something. This is wheat. And of course, wheat, the very best crop for revealing crop marks, you know. Oh, we can't see where you point. How do I do that? Yeah, I don't immediately know. Yeah, that's double clicked toggle spotlight. No. Just trying to find that, where that might be. and I can't immediately find it. So yeah, apologies. Damn. I thought I could do that before, though. I thought there was a previous time when you could see the cursor. But anyway, in the lower left of the image, you see a hedgerow in a curved shape. Well, that's part of the bank of the large embanked enclosure. In the very top of the image, almost at the very, very top, almost out of the image, is the other remaining portion of that original embanked henge. But of course, if you're looking in the wheat field off center, a little bit to the right of center, you'll see this large circular impression, double circle in the wheat crop. I hope you can see that. The wheat crop is a sort of a yellower than the greener crop in the field on the left. Okay, so I want to show you a processed image of the same thing. Give me one moment. Again, there'll be a bit of toing and froing on this. Can I show you? I want to break free. Here is, I hope, a processed version of the same thing. And apologies for the fact that you can't see my cursor. That is annoying to me. Just before I share on screen, just double checking again that there's nothing that I'm missing in terms of the cursor. It is annoying. Anyway, I'll have to do it. So here is a processed version of same. So again, bottom left of the image, the curved hedgerow is the best, the biggest surviving portion of the Heathtown henge. At the very top of the image, you'll see a small bit of bank with some vegetation on it peeping out of the wheat field. That is the other surviving portion of the original giant 200-meter diameter henge. And hopefully, just left of center, you can see the crop marks of a sort of double circle, a concentric circle. You'll see that towards the hedgerow, it's much less visible, but as you go towards the right of the image, it's much more visible. Yeah, and that's a shame about. Oh, I figured it out. I'm pointing at my main screen. I should be pointing at this one. Now, can you see my cursor waving around there? I'll just wait a few moments. But anyway, let's go back a section. So here is the curved bank of the original embanked henge of Heathtown. Here's the remaining section of it. And now look, you can see the crop mark here, but this is what Leo Swan discovered, was that there's still a low remnant of the original bank here joining these two. So you can imagine the Heathtown henge was originally this enormous embanked henge encompassing the entire top of the hill of Heathtown. And then what I've discovered is this double ringed crop mark within the boundaries of this henge. And of course, all sorts of questions are raised about, well, what could it be? Now, I got maybe overexcited, and forgive me for that. But when I announced it yesterday, I said that I considered it a likely copy of Dronehenge. And that's because at the time I could see the inner ditch, as it were, and what looked like two outer ones. Not so much here, but here I can see something in between the inner and the outer ditches. And then I saw what I thought was a rectangle that looked like a porch. And this reminded me an awful lot of Dronehenge, really an awful lot. Thank you to everybody saying that you can see the cursor. I'm really glad about that now because it really helps. So without further ado, let me show you a photo of the original Dronehenge. This is the Dronehenge, the one called Dronehenge. The German newspaper Der Spiegel gave it that name, by the way. And let us just briefly compare these two images. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Yeah, now I need to share that again. So here is the original Dronehenge, found very close to Newgrange, on the lands of Newgrange Farm, very close to the River Boyne here. And of course, after 2.5 months of having not a drop of rain, the crop marks were more distinct because it had been drier. And so Dronehenge consists of this double segmented ditch, and then surrounded by these two concentric circles of post holes, and then this very distinctive rectangular feature. So I suppose you could forgive me for drawing comparisons. If you look at the two images, you'll see. Now, I've oriented these. Oh, no, I'm after starting Stellarium. Sorry. Give me one moment. If you look at these, I've tried to. Well, it's not that I've tried to. I found an image of Dronehenge that had the same. Or hang on, I just quit out of Stellarium. Why did I launch Stellarium? I didn't mean to do that. So if you look at the orientation, I've tried to make them so that the porch is on the correct side. But I hope you can see the comparison. Now, I may have got too carried away. It's too early to say what this new structure is. However, I do want to say something about it before I show you some archaeological interpretation, which was done today by a friend of mine who's an archaeologist based in Wales, and who specializes in aerial archaeology and crop marks. I'm very, very glad to have his input today. But you can see the comparisons, but obviously the Heathtown henge, if that's what it is, let's call it the Heathtown enclosure for now, until it is formally classified, and that may not happen as a result of archaeologists looking at aerial images. That may take further surveying at some point down the line. You can see the comparisons, I hope, between Dronehenge and the new Heathtown enclosure. And so I did. I got excited, and I hope you think that was justified. However, because I had only captured what we call oblique imagery, if I can explain that, some of you will know this, of course. So please, excuse me for mansplaining, or whatever you might call it. So an oblique image, let's say this phone is the surface of the Earth, and you're flying your drone, and you're taking an image from an angle. That's an oblique image. And what we call a vertical image is when the drone is directly above the subject with the camera pointing directly downwards. A vertical imagery is very valuable and very important for mapping and for accurately mapping out features. Oblique imagery often shows up a monument or a crop mark in a different way than vertical imagery. And so it's very important to do both. Lots of questions, and I'm going to do my best to try and keep pace with everything. I'm trying to process this too. Remember, I only found this yesterday, and I haven't heard from the National Monument Service yet. They received my report. Well, I sent it yesterday on a Sunday, so hopefully they would have received it this morning. I sent further images today, so hopefully I'll get some word back from them as to what they think it might be. They'll probably end up classifying it as an enclosure. Once we're not sure about the nature of it, it would generally be just classed as an enclosure. And an enclosure could be an early Neolithic causewayed enclosure, or could be as late as an ecclesiastical enclosure. Enclosure covers 4,000 or 5,000 years of history and archaeology. Where was I going with this? Yeah, I'll talk more about the vertical image in a moment. Now, if you were subscribed to the emails, you'll have got a long email yesterday in which I attempted to say, look, what can we say about this for certain? And what is only speculation? And so I'm just going to read a bit of that. Excuse me, I'm a little bit nasal. Hope I'm not getting COVID. It's rampant here at the moment. I shared some thoughts about what I thought it could be. By the way, there's more than just this enclosure. There's something else there that's exciting. So this is, there's very little to be said. The caveat with crop marks. Now, Dronehenge was exceptionally clear, and I think a number of the archaeologists who looked at those images in the days after that discovery in 2018 were fairly quickly sort of satisfied that it fit the criteria for late Neolithic henge, although it had features which had never before been seen in a late Neolithic henge anywhere in Ireland or Britain. So the caveat here is, look, it's crop marks. So what can we say for certain? And what then is down to interpretation and maybe a bit of speculation? And who should be doing the speculation? Because it's probably not me. I don't know enough. But here's what we can say for certain. Here's what I jotted down in terms of bullet points. These new crop marks almost certainly represent a man-made structure, because it's highly unlikely that there's a natural feature in the landscape that looks like a double concentric circle, the remnants of which are beneath the surface. So the crop mark is the crop above the ground, but revealing something beneath the ground. And that's to do with the crop roots being able to get deeper down into previously dug out features that have more organic material in them and have less soil density or lower soil density and are able to retain trace moisture a bit better. The second thing we can say is that the structure is roughly circular. I think that's evident from the pictures. We can also say that there are two circles, or incomplete circles, if we're honest, since the northern segment of the feature, that's on the left of the image I've shown already, is not visible. Only the southern portion, which is on the right of the image that you've seen already was taken from the west, which are concentric. So it's two concentric circles. The enclosure, to use an archaeological term to describe a circular monument whose age or provenance is not known, measures at least 100 meters in diameter. For the Americans, that's 330 feet. And I've measured that as accurately possible using Google Earth. But remember, I can't see the feature in Google Earth. I'm trying to compare my imagery with what's on Google Earth. I'm trying to estimate. It's at least 100 meters. It's at least, possibly 110 to 120 meters. Not quite as big as Dronehenge, by the way. But Dronehenge has that added annex on it. So in terms of the circular enclosed area, it's probably very close to the size of Dronehenge. What else can we say? These crop marks are situated within the remnants of a known monument, portions of an enormous embanked enclosure over 200 meters in diameter, which likely belongs to the late Neolithic period. That's 2900 BCE to 2400 BCE, as I've already explained. And I've shown you in the image the portions of that outer late Neolithic, probable late Neolithic embanked enclosure. Within the partial double concentric circle enclosure are crop marks of another smaller double concentric circular feature, which I'll show you just now in a moment. And the last thing we can say for sure is neither of these double circular enclosures are recorded in the National Monument Service database as far as I can ascertain using their online viewer. Can't rule out the possibility that somebody has seen them already and reported them already, but hopefully that's not the case. So just give me one moment while I now dig out, to use an archaeological term. Let me show you this image of this double circle within the double circle. Show on stream. Here we go. So here is the, for the moment I'm calling this Dronehenge 2, with the understanding that it may not be a henge. So you can see now this is a better image because it's, although it's still oblique, it's halfway between a vertical and an oblique. You can see this inner enclosure. You can see this outer, or parts of what seem to be a segmented outer ditch. And then between them, possibly some post holes or pits or something, especially in this quadrant, which would be the southeastern quadrant. This rectangular porch-like feature, I'm not sure about. And that's only because, see the eastern boundary of it here. Well, that line continues. That may be a crop mark related to agriculture, or it may be related to something, another monument that was there. It may not be part of the structure. It's difficult to say whether this is a porch or not. But the feature I'm trying to show you is, of course, this. I hope you can see that. It's fainter. It's more difficult to see. And the difficulty here is that the crop has ripened out to a degree. So these crop marks are not nearly as distinct as the ones that revealed Dronehenge 6 years ago. But it looks to be a circle and then a circle within that. Now, when I say a circle, they don't look to be perfect circles. They look to, we would call this subcircular. Archaeologists call it a monument subcircular or subrectangular when it looks circular, but it's not precisely circular, you know. And of course, there's lots and lots of questions to be asked about this. What would geophysics reveal? You know, what would LiDAR reveal? And of course, eventually, what would a little bit of excavation reveal? But that's considering we're 6 years on from Dronehenge and there hasn't been any excavation there. Don't expect that to happen anytime soon. I'm just going to see if I can find. I thought there was an even more distinct image of that today. I'm very glad that when I find stuff with my drone. There's a Polish gentleman called Tomek, and he runs my imagery through a process called PCA. Actually, I should tell you what that is because I can't remember what it stands for. I'll tell you now if I can. Google's your friend. Principal component analysis. He let me just show you. So he ran one of my images through the process, and it as far as I understand it, it extracts color information and data from your image and presents it in various color formats. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to show you a series of. Wait till you hear this. I'm going to show you a series of 42 images. Forgive me for the fact that I'll be showing you them in quick succession. I will, as soon as I get my act together, for which I apologize. Open with photos, full screen, and can I tap to get the next one? Yes, I can. Okay. Allow me to share this with you. So you're going to see some very garish colors in some of these images. So this is the same image I've just shown you, but I want to show you a couple of instances where excuse me, this much smaller double circle within the larger double circle is visible. And if you think about it, what I appear to have found is a small double enclosure within a larger double enclosure within an embanked henge. Wow. Let me show you this. Stop talking, Anthony, and show you. Silent Pilgrim mentions that diameter, I presume you're talking about the outer embanked enclosure of Heathtown, would make it bigger by a dozen meters than even the structure in Pomelta in Germany. Huge. Yes, it is. And that Rathmave, of course, takes the biscuit. Rathmave at the Hill of Tara, 270 meters. Truly enormous. Anyway, let me show you these images. Thanks to Tomek, whose surname is Plosienic, Ploccienic, I think. I hope I have the pronunciation right. So look, just follow the, this is the same images, but using 42 different colorizations, as it were. So just watch. And already I can see this, at least one of the circles there, and possibly a hint of the second one. But just watch as I scroll through them, how you'll see variations. And it's immediately visible there. I hope you agree. And I'm just going to scroll through these quickly now. And some of them, of course, are inverted. So you see them in negative, where the same image is reversed in terms of the color presentation. Yeah, it's really popping out there for me, this double circle. Now, let me... And of course, some of the processing means that there's very little contrast visible. So the crop marks actually all but disappear in some of the PCA processing, but that's okay. I've always seen more detail using Tomek's processed images than I've seen in my own original. So I'm very grateful to him for doing that. Anyway, I want to just... What's the best one? That one possibly is a good place to start, right? Just bear with me for a moment, because there's a comparison here, I believe. And I've already mentioned this in the social media posts. And forgive me if I'm jumping to, if I'm leaping and jumping to conclusions here. But it reminds me an awful lot of a monument that Ken Williams and I think Ken was the first one to image it on the fateful evening of discovery at Newgrange Farm back in 2018, but which I subsequently followed up with a series of aerial images taken at different times in the intervening period. What I see, I'm just going to line these up now. Okay, now let me share this again. What I see, and forgive me if I'm leaping here, but I'm looking at this image and I'm seeing two concentric flattened circles, and possibly within their interior some indications of some post holes. What I'm seeing, tell me if I'm wrong, is another version of this, which is the four-poster monument that Ken and I revealed in our imagery in 2018 at Newgrange Farm. Now, just to let you know, what is a four-poster? Nothing to do with a bed. It's four large posts in a square or rectangular formation within a circle, or usually a double circle. There are several of these known from around Ireland. the best, I think, excavated example is the one at Nouth, where the OPW have actually put tree trunks posts back into the original holes to show you what it would look like when it was standing. Archaeologists believe that the four central posts, one of the theories about what they were used for was that the four central posts supported an aerial wooden platform, a raised wooden platform, upon which the Neolithic people placed the dead bodies to naturally decompose and to be stripped of the flesh by the birds, excarnation, a defleshing, or even a form of what you might call sky burial. This four-poster, Steve Davis and his colleagues have identified a number of others at Brunabonia. I believe there's 6 in total at Brunabonia. This is by far, this one at Newgrange Farm, is by far the largest one yet discovered on the island of Ireland. Can't remember its diameter. It's in the National Monuments report into the drought finds of 2018. That is downloadable for free from the internet, by the way, in PDF form. I just can't remember its exact diameter, which I'm sorry about, but it's something like 20 meters. Would it be 30 meters? 30, 40 meters, even something like that. Anyway, I can't help when I'm looking at this, seeing something along those lines. And this would be interesting because if it's a four-poster, well, it wouldn't be out of place in a landscape where there's a late Neolithic phase, a distinct late Neolithic phase in the Fourknocks area, where we have 3 identified henges or embanked enclosures, one at Fourknocks Micknanstown, one at Micknanstown, which is the one you can drive over, by the way, featured in a video on my YouTube channel, if you search for the only henge in Ireland that you can drive over, and of course the Heathtown henge. But as my forthcoming book about Fourknocks reveals, there are at least 3 more possible additional late Neolithic henges. Now, possible, and that comes with that caveat, it's only possible. And here now we have a structure within the Heathtown henge that looks like it's from that era, that late Neolithic era. Now, that doesn't mean what it is. That doesn't mean it is what I'm saying it is. Just because it looks like a four-poster doesn't mean it is. Unfortunately, the crop marks in this case are indistinct. They're much less distinct than the crop marks revealing the Dronehenge 2, as I've called it. But if you look through those images, you'll see that at certain points, it really does pop out. It's really very obvious in some of them and much less obvious in others. It's very obvious in some of the color images too. I hope you can see that. And I just wonder, there's definitely what I consider to be 2 distinct dark areas. But look, you couldn't bet your house on those either, because look, if you look in the field in the immediate area, you'll see there are these darker dots, and they could be just shallow pits, maybe man-made, maybe not, but unrelated to the monument. And of course, the larger dark areas, are the areas of the field where there is a bit of a dip and it's able to retain moisture a little bit better. What are we on? 4 minutes past 9. I know that you're probably all very willing to hang around, so we haven't. There's still more to come. So the discovery would appear to be at least 2 discoveries. At least a double ditched, in places triple ditched enclosure, whose date is unknown at the moment. I'll talk about possibilities. We will talk about possibilities because I spoke about that in yesterday's email. And I'm going to turn that email into a blog post. So you'll be able to read all of this on the website soon. And some of you could hear Coda. Michael Trott has joined us. Hello, Michael, from Auckland. These ancient Neolithic sites need protection in Ireland and elsewhere. And the full Irish, I didn't know was in the house. Gary, how's things? You're very, very welcome. Is the double ring the inside and outside of the same ditch? No, they would almost certainly be separate ditches. Almost certainly, yeah. Now, what was the next step? What's the next step in this presentation? Yeah, I'm going to introduce to you. Let me just check. I want to check my email first. Apologies. And there's a reason I'm checking. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's okay to. I presume it is, to be honest. But I was delighted today to have an offer of help in terms of trying to interpret the image, um, one of the images. So this morning, as I mentioned earlier, I think I went back to the discovery with the distinct purpose of capturing vertical imagery. So yesterday's imagery was oblique, and I just know that from previous experience at Brunebonia dealing with uh, Dr. Steve Davis and Geraldine Stout and other archaeologists and the National Monument Service that, you know, vertical, straight down aerial imagery is very important. Not being able to cover the monument with one single image, I had to move the drone around it and capture several, which I then stitched together automatically with software. So what I want to show you now is an interpretation, and this is, remember, it's not cursory, as in it didn't take 5 minutes. This took maybe several hours, but I'm going to show you now uh, an interpretation of the aerial image. Actually, I should show you the original aerial image before I show you the interpreted version. Give me one moment. I apologize. I know I'm back and forthing a little bit, but I hope you can understand. I haven't had time to plan for this episode today. It's been a crazy manic day. So here is the composite aerial image. And as you can see, without much processing, the crop marks are actually not that distinct. They're not nearly as distinct as Dronehenge was in 2018. But of course, that although it matters from the point of view of the more distinct they are, the more we can say. But if this crop was ripe and there hadn't been any shortage of moisture, we would see nothing. We would literally see nothing, and we'd be none the wiser. So I'm going to now show you the interpreted version. So this is courtesy of a Dr. Toby Driver. And Dr. Driver, I had the pleasure of meeting in person at Fulham Palace in London in August of 2018 when I was being interviewed by Tony Robinson, the famous Tony Robinson, who, as well as playing Baldric in the Blackadder comedy series, was also the presenter of the very famous British archaeology program Time Team. And we were filming for a series called Hidden Britain by Drone. And they were doing a special on the heatwave finds. And he invited me over because he said, Anthony, even though you're in Ireland, your discovery is better than anything we found over here. And that day I met Dr. Driver. We had a lovely long conversation, fascinating individual. And as I say, Dr. Driver is a specialist in aerial archaeology and crop marks. So when he reached out today and said, if you send me some images, I'll do a little bit of interpretation for you. I was like, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Fiona is suggesting. Sorry, that's not Fiona. That's I apologize. That's I pronounced it earlier. Magyolo Hyundon said I would try running it through AI. Yeah, I would if I had any clue what sort of software you would use. Not being familiar with it, I unfortunately can't do that. Sorry for asking. Are the pictures taken along the Boyne Valley to the east of Navan or to the south? Yeah, so Heathtown is close to Fourknocks. Fourknocks is exactly, a little bit less than 10 miles, about 15 kilometres southeast of Newgrange. So if you go to Brunebonia, you're going southeast from that, close to the border of the counties of Meath and County Dublin. Anyway, let me now share the interpreted image by Dr. Toby Driver. So I also need, while I'm doing this, to read a little bit about what he said in his comments. So just bear with me a moment. I apologize again. As I say, I'm back and forthing. Okay. So here's what he had to say. This is a first pass on the mapping. In other words, there may be a more detailed study done. This is an initial study of the crop marks. He says that I tried to rebalance the color bands of the image to clarify and draw out some of the crop marks, which was only partially successful. When crops are nearly ripened and the brown on brown mark is just disappearing, one can see all sorts of shapes and merged patterns in the crop canopy. Many of these will be caused by below ground differences in soil depth, etc. Others where the crop itself has collapsed or discolored. The marks on the plot are what I can see without over-interpreting every potential feature. More hesitant features are shown slightly transparent. So these ones, you see this one here, you can see is a little bit transparent, and this one here. So they're, less definitive, as it were. Now here we go, the exciting couple of sentences. What is exciting is that you seem to have at least one complex main gateway towards the base of the image. I believe he's talking about this area of the image here. And evidence from the outer enclosure of apparent breaks or minor entrances. You can see that. Other breaks in the plot are caused by tractor lines, or what we call in Ireland the tram lines, which interrupt the crop marks. And you can see that there, those interruptions. The complex gateway is nice. What one would see with a European henge. I can't make out a definite box structure or four poster within, which is in this area, but geophysics is surely the next stop. Congratulations again. And he says that he'll have a further look at it tomorrow with fresh eyes to see what else can be seen. Now I'm going to send him on one of those images that I believe reveals what I think might be a four poster more distinctly, so he can study that separately. But that was Dr. Toby Driver's interpretation of what he says. As he says, this is what I can definitely see, and without over-interpreting. So I'm going to leave that on the screen just for a moment, because the next thing I want to do is to run through the possibilities as to what this structure could be. And I believe this is very important. And this will obviously lead the discussion among archaeologists. I am so honored and privileged to have had, as friends as well as archaeological colleagues, as it were, although I'm not a professional archaeologist, I'm very, very glad to have had the assistance of many archaeologists during the discoveries at Brunebonia in 2018, during the subsequent research for my book called Dronehenge, the story behind the remarkable discovery at Newgrange, which, by the way, you can buy a signed copy of on my website. It's not available in the shops for reasons that I will not go into just now, but there is a good reason for that. So if you want to order a copy of Dronehenge and find out all about the excitement and the enormity of the 2018 discoveries, that link I've just shared with you there. So let's talk a moment about the possibilities as to what it can be. And I say in my email that went out to the email subscription list last night, in my view, we are looking at crop marks representing the subsurface remains of a prehistoric enclosure, but belonging to which period? The answer, of course, is that we cannot determine with any level of certainty without excavation and the retrieval of organic material that can be radiocarbon dated, and without uncovering artifacts and pottery and tools and weapons that might give us a better idea of when the structure was in use. So that is a major caveat. Crop marks alone do not date a monument. Although in the case of Dronehenge at Newgrange Farm, if I'm not a betting person, but if I was, I'd put a substantial sum of money on that being a late Neolithic structure, as I think many archaeologists would. A late Neolithic henge. When I announced the discovery yesterday, I jumped at the comparisons between this new monument, new in quotes, and Dronehenge, and we've discussed some of those, or at least I showed comparative photographs earlier. There are similarities, most notably an apparent rectangular porch-like feature discussed above, which appears to mimic Dronehenge. And I added, however, this is far from definite. And as we've just seen from Dr. Driver's interpretation of the image, he's not seeing that definitive. When he says he's seeing what he thinks is a complex gateway, but if he had seen a porch like Dronehenge, he would have said it. There are differences too. Dronehenge has a double segmented ditch marking its perimeter. The new one, that's the Heathtown one, has what looks like a continuous fosse or ditch, and an outer ditch which appears either segmented or even palisaded, i.e. consisting of individual post holes, which were dug to facilitate the insertion of large wooden posts. And from what Dr. Driver is saying, we would appear to be leaning towards a segmented enclosure, a segmented outer ditch. There are hints of a third circle situated between the two ditches already mentioned. So let's bring that back up just for the briefest of moments and show you what I'm talking about there. So between what appears to be the inner enclosure and the outer one, in this southeastern segment of the monument, north is approximately up in this image, are indications of a possible third fosse or segmented ditch between the two. And one or two of my aerial images suggest this may have consisted of post holes spaced apart. But again, in the interim, Dr. Driver's not seeing that, I don't think. So this has all been written before specialized archaeologists had a chance to look at these images. So already I would, and this is the wonderful thing about archaeology, is that nobody has all the answers. And the more people who examine these things, the better. We form a broader view of the possibilities, Here's an exciting one. Here's the second possibility. Second only in order of the way I've listed them, not necessarily in chronological order or in order of importance. Just as they came to my mind, I just listed them. Causewayed enclosure. A distinctly exciting possibility is that the crop marks reveal an early Neolithic causewayed enclosure. Now, that would make it a lot older than Dronehenge and older than Newgrange and Fourknocks passage tombs by several centuries. The outer ring enclosure appears in places to be irregular and not joined up. Now, I had seen that yesterday in my own images before I had asked Dr. Driver to have a look at the images. So he's pointing out something that was apparent, but I'm so delighted to hear him as an expert say it, that this outer ditch is quite segmented and not regularly segmented like the ditch of Dronehenge was, Probably the best known example of a causewayed enclosure in Ireland is the one at Maharaboy in County Sligo. I'm not aware of any examples in or around the Boyne Valley. I understand that a possible one was identified in the last couple of years close to Brunabonia. But because I haven't seen anything published about it, and because I haven't asked the archaeologist in question or haven't found out whether it definitely is, I won't say anything more about it, just in case I'm jumping the gun. Another possibility is that it's a Bronze Age hill fort. Some of Ireland's hill forts belong to the Neolithic, but there was a marked intensification of their construction in Ireland during the Bronze Age, particularly the Middle to Late Bronze Age. So that would be sort of, I'm just giving approximate dates, from about 1500 BC to about 700 BC. One double-ditched hill fort, recently revealed in imagery and partial excavation by the Discovery Programme at Faughan Hill in County Meath, measured 200 metres in diameter, and it was the only known excavated hill fort of its type in County Meath. If what I found at Heathtown yesterday turns out to be a Bronze Age hill fort, well, this will be another example in the county. Evan Kinahan is watching. Evan, you, I believe, will be very interested in this subject matter. And if you haven't been here for the whole thing, you'll want to watch back. I suspect you have I know that you and I spoke at Ishnok in May, and I know that you have a distinct interest in Bronze Age hill forts. So that's another possibility. A further possibility is that it's an Iron Age palisaded enclosure. And so Sally Siggins, who's the chief guide at Carrowmore, the Passage Tomb cluster near Sligo town, also participated in the excavation of 2 such Iron Age palisaded enclosures. And she suggested that that is a possibility for what I've discovered. This type of monument would be later than all of the ones I've discussed above, as in early Neolithic causewayed enclosure, late Neolithic henge, and Bronze Age hill fort. But would still belong mostly to prehistory and maybe the early centuries AD, since the Iron Age straddled the BC AD period, or BCE slash CE, if you're using modern archaeological terminology. Several are known, as in several Iron Age palisaded enclosures. For instance, at Donegal Hill in County Antrim, which, like my find, consists of 2 concentric ditches. Now, Sally did send me on some examples. I think they were the ones she had worked on. And they did look similar, and they did look double ditched. The only big difference was that they seemed to be smaller than this structure on Heath Town. Another possibility, but it's a slim, very, very, very slim possibility. Another type of large enclosure, of course, is the ecclesiastical enclosure. Our friend, the aforementioned, the late Leo Swan, the aerial archaeologist who used to lean out the window of an airplane with a camera long before drones, specialized, and in fact, I believe was the first archaeologist to synthesize all the information about ecclesiastical enclosures, many of which were only available or only viewable from the air. These are large enclosures which mark the boundaries of a church site or a monastery. There's examples at Kells, where in County Meath, where the streetscape apparently follows the original outer enclosure. There is examples that Swan documented at Monaster Boyce, and of course in several other places. I found one in the Google Earth imagery from the drought of 2018 at a place called Kilcooley between Trim and Navan in County Meath, a ditched ecclesiastical enclosure. But the reason that's highly unlikely for Heath Town is that, as far as I know, there's no evidence that there was ever a church or monastic site on Heath Town Hill. And of course, the fact that it's already situated on a hill where we know there is what is likely to be a late Neolithic embanked henge would suggest it's something more associated with that earlier phase than the later or the medieval period, when the church was getting established in Ireland. So, you know, where the whole thing goes from here, I cannot say, except for it's exciting nonetheless. Sorry, I just want to show you another image while I'm talking. This is my very first, very crude effort to show you initially what I had found yesterday. The red showing the extant portion of the outer embanked henge of Heath Town, which is a recorded monument. By the way, it's recorded in 2 sections on the historic environment viewer. In orange, I tried to outline the crop marks of this circular feature, which we understand it's probably circular, but we can only see a semicircle. We can only see half of it. And then in yellow, what I thought was the porch, the box-like feature, the rectangular feature attached to the perimeter of the inner ditch, or the inner enclosure. So I was excited. That image excited me because I thought, yeah, this makes it look like Dronehenge. I'm just trying to find a more oblique view. Yeah, this view. That when I saw this, I thought, this looks very like Dronehenge. Look, it's got the rectangular, it's got the inner ditch, and then what looks to be two outer, at least in this portion, this segment. Not so much in this segment, but in the southeastern quadrant, it looked to have 3 ditches or ditch features. So perhaps I shouldn't have got just as excited, but couldn't help it. So as I said, reverting back to what we were saying earlier, it looks like it's a new discovery. Looks like it hasn't been recorded before. None of the archaeologists I've spoken to yet have any awareness of it. What we can say about it is that it's a large-scale enclosure consisting of 2 to 3 ditches. It was likely circular. It measures at least 100 meters in diameter, possibly up to 120 meters, maybe even a little bit more. It is situated entirely within the original, or what are now the remnants of an original embanked henge. And of course, a big question now, as raised by a local archaeologist in this area, she asked me the question today, or she made the comment that the relationship between what you've discovered and that outer embanked henge is going to be key to understanding this. Are they related? Are they from the same phase? Does the inner one belong to a later phase because it's built within a structure that already exists? Was the larger embanked henge of Heathtown built around this structure? Was this structure an earlier one? The real exciting thing for me is that unless something very, very, very disappointing was to emerge from the archaeological investigation of this, this is almost certainly a prehistoric structure. But with the caveat, and I've been using that word quite a lot this evening, with the caveat that it could span a time scale anywhere from about 3600 BC to about 200 AD. Like it's almost a 4,000 year span, you know. Yeah, fascinating stuff. Brendan Byrne says it looks massive. Yeah, and it is. I'm so happy you let us enjoy your excitement of such a great discovery. Yeah, and for me, obviously, Dronehenge was huge because it really was my first discovery, and what a discovery. An unknown complex henge at Brunabonia in the World Heritage Site, close to Newgrange, in a landscape studied by generations of archaeologists. Wow. And then I followed that up by several drone discoveries plus several hundred discoveries using Google Earth and Apple Maps. Monuments that were revealed in crop marks during the drought periods that were unrecorded. And I believe something like 230 of those or so have been entered into the Historic Environment Viewer. And now this. And this is, in my view, I'm more excited about this than I have been in a long time. I found several medieval ring fort and medieval sort of ring fort complexes, which is exciting. Don't get me wrong, none of this is dull or unexciting. But early medieval ring forts are very commonplace. There's at least 50,000 recorded ring forts in Ireland. Prehistoric enclosures like Dronehenge, henges, impermanent monuments, which we didn't know existed on a large scale, being over 100 meters in diameter. That's far more exciting for me, you know, and far more exciting that it's come at the right time. So I just want to tell you something briefly. And it's on the subject. It's not a diversion. It's not a rabbit hole per se. But you'll know that my intention was to publish the Fourknocks book on the spring equinox. The book was held up by various things. And I'm not blaming anyone. And I'm not at all. In fact, now I'm really happy that it was held up. It was held up for various reasons, including the fact that I realized coming into March that I wasn't going to get finished on time because it was a bigger project than I had envisaged. I'm glad to say it's pretty much finished now, except for this chapter that's going to be added about the Heathtown find, which will be a short chapter. I won't go into too much detail. But now I realise that the book was delayed for a reason. That if I'd published it when I planned to publish it any time before now, I'd have missed out on incorporating this discovery into the book. So, yeah, I'm delighted, you know, brilliant. Now, let me see if there's any comments or questions that require answer. I'm sorry to hear that Monica is having a flare-up. Rest easy, Monica. Get some rest and some medicine, hopefully. And hopefully you'll be right as rain tomorrow. Why would you segment it? No, these. See, the wonderful thing about a lot of these structures is they're considered by archaeologists to be ceremonial or ritual in nature. Of course, the long-running joke being, well, what does that entail? What is ritual? You know, what is ceremony? They're not defensive structures. So, Dronehenge is not as far as we know, a defensive structure. This doesn't look like a defensive structure. It looks like more like a ceremonial or ritual structure. So the causewayed enclosures were the beginning of that, where they dug out sections of ditch, but then they left sections undug, which were the causeways into the monument. Entrances all over the place, you know. Barbara wants to know, how forested is it proposed this part of Ireland was at this time? Well, at this time is a good question. When is this time? In the Neolithic? In the Mesolithic, before the farmers arrived, the builders of the megalithic monuments, Ireland was densely forested. It is said that up to 80 to 90% forested, such that it has been claimed that a squirrel wishing to pass from the very northern tip of Ireland to the very southern tip of Ireland may have been able to do so without its feet ever touching the ground. Now, in the Neolithic is when we see the first forest clearances, first of all, to create farmland for the sowing of crops and the keeping of cattle, for the creation of monuments. And of course, now we know, or at least I think we have done for a long time, they actually use trees to make impermanent monuments, timber monuments. So heavily forested probably 6,000 years ago, 4,000 BC, at the beginning of the Neolithic. And I'd say by the end of the Neolithic, still densely populated in large amounts of the landscape. But these areas where there's clusters of Neolithic monuments and on hilltops cleared of forest, yeah. Dawn says, definitely looks like a causeway. Well, if this turns out to be a causewayed enclosure, that would make me immensely exciting, because it would be by far the earliest monument I would have discovered, you know. Okay, I seem to be caught up, and I don't think there was anything. So I'm just going to keep an eye on the comments and questions. I'm just trying to figure out now if there's anything I've missed. There probably is, but I think I've given you the best, most detailed overview that is possible at this time. Remember that this discovery was made yesterday morning. I only processed the images yesterday afternoon. I only shared the first images on social media at 4 p.m. Irish time yesterday. So we're just over 24 hours on from that. It's early days. What I'd like to happen now is, first of all, I'd like to hear from the National Monument Service that it's unrecorded, get a bit of an opinion as to what it might be, and to have them confirm to me that it will be entered into their database of monuments. But I think the biggest thing that needs to happen now is other archaeologists, especially those with a specialization in Irish and European prehistoric enclosures. More specifically, Irish would be great, especially archaeologists who've actually excavated structures on hilltops. And I believe that's the most important thing that can happen now. Like the likes of Dr. Driver, whose input today already has given me an insight that I didn't have prior to sharing the images with him. So I look forward to hearing the opinions of more archaeologists as to what this might be. And of course, that all comes with a caveat that, well, they're crop marks. So we're interpreting crop marks, which isn't the same as doing a proper geophysical survey or carrying out archaeological excavation and dating material. I understand that. But the more opinions we have, I believe, the broader the picture we will have in terms of the possibilities. And as with all these things, it's so exciting because it's distinctly those possibilities that I believe make this kind of thing interesting. We're interested because it's fascinating. We're interested because we're looking at what human beings did on this island in prehistory, likely in prehistory. As long ago, by the way, as 5.5 or so thousand years ago, possibly. How close is the river to it? Is it on the causeway side? The river is, I'll actually tell you now. If you give me a moment, I'm going to measure on Google Earth. And I'm just trying to determine, is the Delvin, which runs to the south of Fourknocks, is the Delvin actually the nearest river, or is the Nanny a possibility? I think the Nanny is a lot further north. Yeah, I think it would be the Delvin River. So I'm just, you can't see what I'm doing right now. I'm using Google Earth, and I'm going to just approximately measure from approximately the center of my newly discovered hilltop enclosure to the shortest distance to the Delvin River. Yes, it's about 2.2 kilometers is the shortest distance to the Delvin River. That's a little bit less than 2.2 kilometers, 2.16 kilometers, which in miles is 1.34 miles. So yeah, it's not far, but the thing is that the Fourknocks Ridge gets in the way, so you can't see the river. And it is interesting because I've said in my forthcoming Fourknocks book that the Fourknocks landscape looks like the Fourknocks landscape looks like it's a copy or an attempt to replicate in some ways the Brunebonia landscape. And remember, they're separated by less than 10 miles, 15 kilometers. Newgrange points to Fourknocks. The passage of Newgrange, although there's intervening hills, the passage of Newgrange points to Fourknocks. And this is significant because some of the passages of Loughcrew point to Fourknocks, you know. What was the point here? The point is that I've been making the argument that it looks like it's an attempt to replicate, in a way, on a smaller scale, the landscape of Brunebonia. Okay, the tombs are smaller, but the henges, not smaller necessarily. Actually, let me just give you a quick idea of, I have it in my book, and of course I can't immediately remember what size is, for instance, the Micknanstown henge. It is from the edge of the bank to the outer edge of the bank, 127 meters. And I believe the Fourknocks Micknanstown henge might be smaller. It's more like 90 meters. So if this new structure, or newly discovered structure on Heathstown, is a henge, yeah, it might fit in with the henges, except for that it's situated within a larger embanked henge. And I think that's maybe one of the big factors that would work against what I've found being a henge. It would be highly unusual for there to be a henge within a henge. I don't know of any example of that offhand, to my limited knowledge. If it's an earlier structure, like a causewayed enclosure, it would make sense that that would be incorporated into the later embanked enclosure. If it's a later structure, it would also make sense that that was incorporated within the curtilage of the embanked enclosure, you know. So is Fourknocks more important than Newgrange? I wouldn't say more important, Monica, but it's equally important in terms of, revealing this period of Irish history that we call the Neolithic, because the megalithic art of Fourknocks is very similar to that of Brunebonia. That led P.J. Hartnett, the archaeologist who excavated Fourknocks, to say that it was distinctly part of the Boyne culture. The henges, there are 3 definite and now 4 possibles. As of yesterday morning, when I set out on my tour and with my drone in the van, I had written in my book about there being 3 definite henges in close proximity to Fourknocks and 3 possibles. Now there's 3 definites and 4 possibles. And no, I wouldn't say more important, but I'd say equally important, you know. So I was driving and couldn't type. I've been listening to a podcast. It's an incredible, interesting find you have there of what I know about Irish henges. We've some up to 80, 90 meters in diameter, down to about 30 meters. Actually, much larger than that, Evan. The largest henge is Rathmave at Tara, 270 meters. And the Brunebonia henges are more than 150 meters. I didn't realize the smallest ones are about 30 meters. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Catton says, say something about Cairn L on Cairnban West. Well, I would, but I'm just not. Forgive me, but I'm not seeing the only thing about Cairn L that might be relevant here, Cattons, is does it point to Fourknocks? And I think it does, actually. Yeah. So that is, sorry, yes, that's what you meant. So yeah, we've got passage tombs as far away as Loughcrew, several of which, as Jean McMahon pointed out in a 1994 paper, I think she said 8 of them point to Fourknocks and 6 of them point to Brunebonia. So Fourknocks is important. Absolutely. It's an important landscape. What it's missing, and perhaps intentionally, are large-scale passage tombs like the large ones we see at Brunebonia. But everything else is there. I don't believe we yet have a cursus in the Fourknocks area. And we have several of those at Newgrange and one at the Hill of Tara. So that'll be interesting, yeah. But thank you for drawing my attention. Karen L. at Loughcrew, on the westernmost hill of Loughcrew. Let me give you, the listeners, just a very quick idea of just how far that is from Fourknocks. Cairnban West, or Cairnban, as I call it. There was no west or east in the old maps of the area. Cairnban was the original western hill, and to me will always be Cairnban. And Cairnban East, as the OPW calls it, is Slieve na Calia. Cairn L is, oh wow, yeah, almost 56 kilometers away. 34.5 miles. Wow. So yeah, an incredible distance away. Michael says, great work and delving. The archaeological images, even at crop marks thus far, and the possibilities of a span of 4,000 years in time, as you mentioned. Yeah, for me, it's just tremendously exciting. And not having the answers is actually part of the excitement. If we knew all the answers, it wouldn't be interesting anymore, or it'd be less interesting, you know. Could be an Iron Age regional royal enclosure. Yes, and I know that you then follow that up, Evan, by saying low chance, though. Yeah, I'd be inclined to think low chance from the point of view that, well, I couldn't rule it out. Look, Rathessa at the nearby Garristown Hill is in the Dinshanachus. You know, perhaps we're missing something here. You know, that we could have Heathtown, yeah. Not immediately aware of anything, but that does, of course, doesn't mean anything. 1 mile isn't far when you think of Dorrington Walls to Newgrange. Yes, indeed. I feel we have a cursus leading to the Long Barrow. Yeah. The Long Barrow itself is interesting because it appears to me to be a mound that was built on top of a natural feature. Don't know if there's any, Paul, is there any archaeological view on that? I don't know if there's any sort of archaeological consensus that there might be a cursus on the Fourknocks Ridge. But of course, it shouldn't surprise us that there might be, because it's what we find in late Neolithic landscapes. Susan Scott says, fascinating. Well, I'm glad you agree. I've nothing left to say at this point. I'm just blabbering on like an idiot now, like an excited school child. Yesterday, I was, for a short time, quite elated to the point that I was on the verge of tears of joy. It's exciting. It's definitely exciting. It's exciting for me. It's a lovely part of the Mythical Ireland story. I never thought years ago, when I was researching for Island of the Setting Sun, that although I had made discoveries with Richard Moore of the Baltray Standing Stone alignment and the Dronehenge Summer Solstice alignment, I never thought I'd be eventually discovering unknown monuments, and especially large-scale unknown monuments. So it's exciting. Of course it is. It's an honor. It's a privilege. I'm just so full of joy about that, you know. So somebody may have noticed, I did bring this to the attention of the National Monument Service, but if you use their historic environment viewer and you choose the 2013 to 2018 Map Genie base map, this double ditch feature is actually visible in that image. So it might have been spotted before I used my drone flying over the site yesterday. Brendan, you know, I think that the ancient people were very adept astronomers. So the possibility that openings in the segments align with stars in the night sky or heavenly bodies is a possibility. Absolutely. Couldn't rule it out. Couldn't rule it in either, but who knows? Thank you, Helen. Hope you enjoyed it. New light on the ancient past is the tagline of Mythical Ireland, and has been since the moment the website went live on the 16th of March in the year 2000. And here we are, over 24 years later, still hopefully shedding new light on the ancient past, or at least opening up all sorts of questions about that ancient past. You have every right to be excited, Anthony, says Anne McCallum. More power to you. These finds help to keep you doing what you love. Yeah, and I love it, of course. There's a great joy. And you fly with purpose. The drone is put up in the air with the express purpose of research, of seeing things that haven't been seen before, and revealing possibly new structures. Of course, at all times, the word new in inverted commas, because they're not new structures, but they are newly discovered old structures, as it were. Yeah, so it is a hilltop, but yes, like a lot of hilltops in Ireland, it's a fairly low hill. But it's interesting because the Fourknocks passage tombs, and there are more than one of them, possibly several. There's definitely a second immediately beside it, and possibly another one, the Cadell's Folly or Herbertstown Gazebo, is situated on what archaeologists think is likely to be a passage tomb. They're situated on top of the highest ridge in the immediate area, which is the Fourknocks Ridge. Heathtown, yeah, it is interesting because it's not lowland, but it's not the highest part of the landscape either. It's sort of between the two, you know. So it is a hilltop, but it's a low, broad hill, you know. Anything else in terms of questions? I just told my husband about what you found, Anthony. This is Monica. He was so delighted. And that is a big compliment. Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. And tell him I'm glad that I've piqued his interest. Lily Shambles is saying, this has been amazing, informative, and wonderful to see how excited you are and yet practical. I really hope it works out for you. Well, regardless, since I first bought a drone in March of 2017, I've been using the drone to take photographs of the prehistoric landscapes of Ireland from the air. And since Dronehenge in July of 2018, I have distinctly been using it with the express purpose of trying to discover uh, uh, new a new understanding of pre-existing features, or of course the discovery of previously unknown monuments. I wrote an essay about provincial and regional royal enclosures that might interest you, Anthony. I'm up excavating at Doonall currently. Just let me know if you'd like. Of course I would. Evan, mythicalireland@gmail.com. If you want to send it on to me, I'll have a read of it. Excuse me. I think you need a direct bat phone to the OPW, if I have the letters correct. The OPW and the National Monument Service. I can tell you, and I know I'm being light-hearted. There's probably some people in the OPW and the National Monument Service who, when they get an email from me, they're like, "Oh my god, this fecker won't just why didn't he just leave his drone at home and let somebody else, find stuff, And I'm sure they're like, oh, not this guy again. Oh, but it's good. For me, it's good. No, they're, in fairness, they're very good, and they're very diligent and very helpful. And the wonderful thing about the National Monument Service is their archaeologists, who one of whom used to be Geraldine Stout. She used to work for the Archaeological Survey of the National Monument Service. Archaeologists have always been very helpful to me. I literally could not do any of this. Okay, I could find new things with the drone, but I wouldn't have any clue what they are if I wasn't referring to archaeologists and getting their expert opinion. And crucially, if this is very important, if they weren't willing to share that knowledge with me. And that's hugely important. I'm not one of these writers and researchers who's paranoid about archaeologists. Most of them are brilliant people, and a lot of them are friends of mine. I think this is the case at Avebury, which is a massive henge. Apparently Stonehenge isn't a real henge, but considered a proto-henge. Yeah, it's interesting that the word henge comes from Stonehenge, but Stonehenge is an atypical henge. Yeah. This is a great webpage explaining henges with images. That's Mavanway sharing English heritage link, which I will open and maybe just bookmark for later viewing. Um, well, what's that one called with all the flattened stones in it? Arbor Low, is it? Yeah. And of course, the triple henges of Thornborough and the pretty henges and wow, Avebury. Yeah, bloody hell, amazing. Dorrington Walls. It really reminds me of Windmill Hill. Yeah, I was looking at that earlier on. Windmill Hill has an early Neolithic causewayed enclosure on it, Jez, I understand. Isn't that right? So that makes it even more exciting for me, the possibility that this might be an early Neolithic structure. Yeah, I cannot, Stela, I cannot tell you anything about a road through Stonehenge. I think they were proposing building a tunnel to bring the road under Stonehenge, but I actually don't know what the latest is there. Not my area of expertise, unfortunately. Somebody else might be able to help you with that, by the way. The Full Irish, imagine what you could do with a €10,000 LiDAR equipped drone. Yeah, it's a funny thing. A lot of people have been asking in the past 24 hours and asked at the discovery of Dronehenge, what's the LiDAR coverage like? The fact of the matter is, actually, Dronehenge was never visible in LiDAR because it left no surface marks. It was a timber henge, we believe, and ditch segments. So it all got filled in, and agricultural activity over several centuries made that field very flat. There's nothing to see in LiDAR. I suspect that the same will be the case for this latest enclosure on Heathtown Hill. That LiDAR will show perhaps the parts of the bank of the original embanked henge. It's a funny one, LiDAR, you could spend thousands and get exactly what you're talking about and actually not discover anything. Crop marks, for me, have been, certainly in my story, crop marks have been more valuable than LiDAR. But if I had a LiDAR equipped drone, I'd be using it. There's no doubt about it. And I'd be probably finding stuff. Thank you, Mavanway. It's been so interesting to hear the process and get into the archaeological detail of it all. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Less mythology this week and more archaeology. It's changing the outlook on what we've thought we've known, and it's thrilling. Yeah, well, thank you for pointing that out, Marissa. I agree. It is thrilling first and foremost, Jez is helping Leia Stella with information about the Stonehenge Road. Can you not make friends with the farmer and do a community dig? I don't know the landowner in this case. Yeah, and that's something, of course, I'd love to see in general, is more community involvement in archaeology. Because at the end of the day, the local people who are attached to the land, they're making a living from it. It's their life. We can't expect them to disrupt that or abandon that. It'd be lovely for everybody to come together. And that's ideally the situation I'd like to see in lots of places around Ireland. Because remember that more than 90% of Irish monuments are situated on privately owned farmland. So glad, says Anne McCallum, that the internet kept working throughout the episode. As always, thanks very much, Anthony. Another wonderful episode, always very interesting and enjoyable. It's also so wonderful how respectful you are to all the folks who came before you and to all those who are so helpful and open to your hypotheses and discoveries. Yeah, for me, that's the way it has to be. I could sit here making pronouncements about what this is and ignoring opinions and ignoring evidence. I don't want to do that. I want the broadest picture possible. And I've always had a good relationship with the archaeologists. I just think they're brilliant people and they're always willing to share. Elmo Mack says, well done on the new find, Anthony. Thank you, Elmo. I suppose we might be coming back to it next week. Because in the interim, who knows what archaeologists might have studied the images and said, here's some other possibilities, I love archaeology and mythology. Same, right? Which is why you're here, which is wonderful. Lily, I love that. Discovery of large henge via drone. LiDAR, nothing to see here. yeah. But now LiDAR can find stuff that the drone can't find. So, they're both useful. It's so interesting to see this process play out, says Mariana, hoping it represents a significant new find. Thank you indeed. More of which in the forthcoming monograph. The only book, I believe, ever published about Fourknocks, Certainly the only one ever published in colour. And the excavation report was published in 1957 and is out of print. You can get your signed copy, pre-order it now. It's published on the 1st of August, which is only a few weeks away. That's the link. If you want to get all 3 monographs at a slightly reduced price, I'm offering the 3 monographs as a 3-in-1 bundle at this link, which I'm sharing now. And I'm going to have to go now. So more comments and questions to follow, and perhaps another episode about this at a later date. Maybe next week, if I have enough information to do another episode, maybe further down the line. But anyway, it's exciting nonetheless. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, for watching, and for sharing, and for being lovely to each other, which has been since day one of this broadcast on the 12th of March 2020, at the beginning of the COVID pandemic in Ireland, which has been a trademark of the Mythical Ireland community, the Mythflix community on the live streams. Thank you so much. Do rewind, go back, don't forget, sign up for the emails. If you can make a contribution to the Fourknocks book, that would be so wonderful, and I'd be delighted. And if you would like to become a patron, that's very important in terms of supporting the work of Mythical Ireland. Thank you all, and a very good evening from the Boyne Valley, where it's a beautiful evening, and there's a bit of a red sky, and it's nice and mild. Hope it's the same for you. But see you all next week. In the meantime, Ichawa Colos Sov. Slán go fóil agus tó go bogé. Take it easy.